9 cars with engines that mechanics praise as engineering masterpieces. Powerful, efficient, incredibly well designed. But those same mechanics would never actually own the vehicles those engines are installed in. We're talking about situations where brilliant powertrains are sabotaged by everything surrounding them. Electronics that fail constantly, transmissions that grenade, or build quality so poor the engine never gets a chance to prove its worth. By the end, you'll see which engine mechanics call one of the best ever made, installed in a vehicle they consider one of the worst ever sold. But first, you need to understand something about how mechanics actually think, because it's completely different from how manufacturers market. Here's what happens in shops across America. A vehicle rolls in on a flatbed with electrical problems or transmission failure or some catastrophic issue that has nothing to do with the engine. The mechanic pulls the hood, looks at the engine, and thinks, "What a waste." Because the engine itself might be brilliant, advanced technology, impressive power, excellent efficiency, but it's surrounded by components that fail constantly. We talked to mechanics from Seattle to Miami, shops that see thousands of vehicles yearly, technicians with decades of experience. 9 vehicles kept coming up in conversations. Engines that earn respect, cars that earn contempt. Let's start with the most heartbreaking example. Ford Explorer. Start with the Ford Explorer equipped with the 3.0-liter EcoBoost V6. This engine is genuinely impressive. 365 horsepower, smooth power delivery, surprising fuel economy for the performance. Mechanics respect this powertrain. The problem is everything else. The Explorer has documented electrical issues that plague owners constantly. The infotainment system freezes and requires hard resets. The electrical architecture develops faults that are expensive to diagnose and fix. These aren't minor annoyances. These are problems that leave vehicles stranded. But here's what makes mechanics particularly frustrated: the transmission issues. The 10-speed automatic paired with this engine has a problematic history: harsh shifting, shuddering, and in some cases, complete failure requiring replacement. When a transmission fails at 60,000 miles in a vehicle that cost $50,000, that's unacceptable. The build quality concerns extend to interior components. Dashboard rattles, climate control failures, power liftgate problems. These quality issues diminish what should be an excellent vehicle. One mechanic in Ohio sees Explorers regularly for electrical diagnostics. He'll open the hood, see that 3.0 EcoBoost, and appreciate the engineering. Then he'll spend hours tracing electrical gremlins through a complicated wiring harness, fixing problems that shouldn't exist in a modern vehicle. He'd love to own that engine in a different vehicle. The resale values reflect owner frustration. 3-year-old Explorers with the 3.0 EcoBoost are depreciating faster than expected because word spreads about reliability problems. Buyers research before purchasing and discover forums filled with electrical complaints. But at least Ford isn't alone in wasting good engines. Jeep Wrangler 4 XE. The Jeep Wrangler 4 XE plug-in hybrid uses a 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that mechanics actually praise. The engine produces good power, integrates well with the hybrid system, and demonstrates impressive engineering. The problem is the hybrid system surrounding that engine. The 4XE has documented problems with battery failures, charging system issues, and hybrid component malfunctions. These aren't theoretical concerns, these are real problems owners are experiencing at alarming rates. But here's what makes mechanics specifically avoid the 4XE: the complexity layered on top of a vehicle that's supposed to be simple and robust. The Wrangler's appeal has always been simplicity and durability. The 4XE takes that formula and adds layers of complexity that create failure points. The electrical issues are severe. The 4XE develops faults in the hybrid management system that require dealer-only diagnostics with specialized equipment. When something goes wrong, you can't take it to any mechanic. You're dependent on Jeep dealers, and repair costs are astronomical. The battery system is experiencing premature failures. Hybrid batteries failing at 30,000 or 40,000 miles isn't supposed to happen, but 4XE owners are reporting battery problems requiring replacement at costs exceeding $10,000. One mechanic in Colorado loves the idea of a plug-in hybrid Wrangler. The 2.0 turbo is a good engine. The hybrid system could be brilliant for around-town efficiency with off-road capability. But he's seen 3 Forkses with complete hybrid system failures requiring battery pack replacement, all under 50,000 miles. He'd never own one because when it breaks, the repair costs are catastrophic. But American brands aren't the only ones wasting good engines. BMW X3. The BMW B58 inline-six is one of the best engines currently in production. Mechanics genuinely love this engine. Smooth, powerful, reliable by BMW standards, fantastic sound. It's engineering excellence. The problem is it's installed in the X3, which has typical BMW ownership nightmares. The cooling system uses plastic components that fail predictably. The electrical systems develop expensive faults after warranty expires. The all-wheel drive system has documented transfer case problems. But here's what makes mechanics specifically avoid the X3 M40i. The total cost of ownership is absurd. Yes, the B58 engine is reliable, but everything else isn't. Cooling system repairs run thousands. Transfer case replacement is expensive. Electrical diagnostics at BMW dealers are priced at premium rates. The maintenance costs are significant, even when nothing breaks. BMW requires specific service intervals with dealer-recommended synthetic oils and parts. Those scheduled services cost multiples of what Toyota or Honda service costs. Add the repairs that inevitably come after 80,000 miles, and the X3 M40i becomes financially questionable. The depreciation is severe because buyers know what's coming. Used X3 M40i models sell for significantly less than comparable Mercedes or Audi SUVs because the market understands BMW ownership costs. That depreciation hits current owners hard. One mechanic in California would love to own that B58 engine. It's a brilliant inline-six, but not in an X3. Not with BMW's cooling system, not with the repair costs, not with dealer-only diagnostics for electrical issues. He'd rather have a Toyota engine that makes less power but costs a fraction to maintain. Speaking of which, even Toyota makes this mistake occasionally. Toyota Land Cruiser. Wait, Toyota? The Land Cruiser has one of the most reliable V8 engines ever built. The 5.7-liter V8 is legendary for durability. Mechanics love this engine. It runs forever with basic maintenance. The problem isn't reliability, it's fuel economy and value proposition. The Land Cruiser gets around 13 to 14 miles per gallon combined in real-world driving. For a vehicle costing $80,000 or more when new, that fuel economy is catastrophic in 2024. But here's what makes mechanics specifically avoid owning one. The operating costs are absurd, even though nothing breaks. You're spending $500 to $600 monthly on fuel if you drive regularly. That's $6,000 to $7,000 annually just in gasoline. The maintenance costs add up. Yes, the vehicle is reliable, but when you do need service, everything is expensive because parts are sized for a massive SUV. Brake pads and rotors are huge, tires are expensive, even oil changes require significant quantities of synthetic oil. The depreciation used to be minimal, but that's changing. As fuel prices fluctuate and buyers become more conscious of efficiency, Land Cruisers are depreciating more than historically normal. The days of Land Cruisers holding 80% of their value are ending. One mechanic in Texas appreciates that 5.7 V8 immensely. It's bulletproof. But he calculated annual operating costs, fuel, insurance, maintenance, and realized a Land Cruiser costs more to operate yearly than many vehicles cost to purchase. He'd rather own a 4Runner with the V6, sacrifice some capability, and save thousands annually on fuel. But at least the Land Cruiser is reliable. The next one isn't. Dodge Durango SRT. The 6.4-liter Hemi Fight 8 is an engine mechanics respect. It makes massive power, 475 horsepower, and has a fantastic V8 sound. The engine itself is generally reliable when maintained properly. The problem is the Durango surrounding it. The electrical system is a nightmare. The TIPM, totally integrated power module, fails with alarming frequency and can cause everything from starting issues to fuel pump problems to complete electrical shutdown. This is a documented, widespread problem that Dodge has never adequately resolved. But here's what makes the Durango SRT particularly problematic. The transmission behind that powerful HEMI isn't holding up. The 8-speed automatic is experiencing failures at relatively low mileage. When a transmission grenade at 70,000 miles and replacement costs exceed $6,000. That's a serious ownership concern. The fuel economy is catastrophic, around 13 miles per gallon combined. For a 3-row SUV, that's absurd. You're spending massive amounts on fuel for a vehicle that's likely to develop expensive electrical or transmission problems. The build quality is mediocre. Interior components feel cheap for a vehicle costing $70,000. The contrast between the impressive engine and the subpar, everything else is stark. One mechanic in Arizona has worked on multiple Durango SRTs with TIPM failures. The 6.4 Hemi always seems fine. Good compression, running smooth. But the electrical gremlins that stem from TIPM issues are expensive to diagnose and repair. He'd love that Hemi in a vehicle with better build quality and a more reliable electrical system. But that vehicle doesn't exist. Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. The Ferrari-derived 2.9-liter twin-turbo V6 in the Giulia Quadrifoglio is an absolute masterpiece. 505 horsepower, 443 pound-feet of torque. Glorious exhaust note. Mechanics call this one of the best engines in any production car. The problem is it's installed in an Alfa Romeo. The reliability is horrific. Electrical problems plague these vehicles constantly. The infotainment system is problematic. The climate control develops faults. The electrical architecture is overly complex and fails frequently. But here's what makes mechanics specifically avoid the Giulia: the transmission and differential problems. The 8-speed automatic has documented issues with harsh shifting and electronic faults. The rear differential can develop problems that require expensive replacement. These are known issues that Alfa hasn't adequately resolved. The dealer network is sparse. If you don't live near a major city with an Alfa dealer, getting service is difficult. And when you do get service, the costs are astronomical because parts are imported and labor rates are premium. The depreciation is catastrophic. 3-year-old Giulia Quadrifoglios lose 60 to 70% of their value because buyers understand the reliability risks. That depreciation destroys any financial logic for ownership. One mechanic who's a car enthusiast would love to own that 2.9 V6. It's engineering art, but not in a Giulia. The repairs would bankrupt him. The electrical problems would frustrate him daily. The depreciation would destroy any residual value. He'd rather watch YouTube videos of that engine than actually own the vehicle it's installed in. Mercedes-AMG E63S. The Mercedes-AMG 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 is exceptional engineering. 603 horsepower, incredible performance, sophisticated technology. This is one of the best V8s currently made. The problem is Mercedes ownership costs after warranty expires. The E63S develops expensive problems predictably. The air suspension fails and costs thousands to repair. The complex electronics develop faults requiring dealer diagnostics at premium rates. The turbochargers themselves can fail at high mileage. But here's what makes mechanics specifically avoid the E63S: the maintenance costs even when nothing breaks. Mercedes requires expensive scheduled services. The brake pads wear quickly due to the performance capability and cost significantly more than standard E-Class parts. Tire replacement is frequent and expensive. The total cost of ownership over 5 years is absurd. One analysis calculated that an E63S costs over $20,000 more to own than a comparable BMW or Audi performance sedan when you factor in depreciation, maintenance, and repairs. The reliability concerns keep buyers away from used examples. 3-year-old E63S models sell for 50 cents on the dollar because buyers understand what's coming. Expensive repairs as the vehicle ages beyond warranty coverage. One mechanic in Florida would genuinely love that AMG 4.0 V8. But he'd never own an E63S because one air suspension repair would cost more than he makes in a week. One electrical fault diagnosis would eat an entire paycheck. The vehicle is brilliant when it works, but the cost to keep it working is prohibitive for anyone without unlimited discretionary income. Jaguar F-Pace SVR. The Jaguar Supercharged 5.0-liter V8 is a fantastic engine. 550 horsepower, supercharger whine, impressive performance. Mechanics who are enthusiasts love this engine's character. The problem is it's installed in a Jaguar, and Jaguar reliability is legendarily terrible. The F-Pace SVR develops electrical problems constantly. The infotainment system is problematic. The transmission has documented issues. The build quality is inconsistent. But here's what makes mechanics specifically avoid the F-Pace SVR: the parts availability and repair costs. When something breaks, which it will, getting parts can take weeks. You're dependent on Jaguar dealers because independent shops often can't get parts, and dealer labor rates are premium, while the work takes longer because of parts delays. The depreciation is among the worst in the luxury SUV segment. F-Pace SVR models lose 70% or more of their value in 5 years. That's catastrophic depreciation that destroys any financial logic. The brand struggles themselves create ownership anxiety. Jaguar Land Rover's corporate instability translates into dealer network concerns and parts supply worries. Buying a Jaguar means gambling on corporate survival. One mechanic loves that supercharged V8 sound, but he's seen too many F-Paces with electrical nightmares, too many owners frustrated by dealer service, too many repair bills that shock even wealthy buyers. That 5.0 V8 deserves better than the vehicle it's installed in. Audi RSQ8. The Audi/Porsche 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 is engineering excellence. 591 horsepower, sophisticated technology, impressive performance. This is one of the finest V8s available. The problem is Audi ownership costs spiraling out of control. The RSQ8 develops expensive problems as it ages. The air suspension is guaranteed to fail eventually. The complex electronics require dealer-only diagnostics. The all-wheel drive system has components that wear and require expensive replacement. But here's what makes the RSQ8 particularly problematic. The tire costs alone are absurd. The performance tires required for this vehicle cost over $500 each and wear quickly due to the power and weight. You're replacing tires more frequently than a normal SUV at costs that shock even luxury car owners. The brake service is equally expensive. The carbon ceramic brakes, if optioned, cost tens of thousands to replace. Even the standard brakes require frequent service at premium costs due to the performance capability and vehicle weight. The total cost of ownership makes the RSQ8 a financial disaster even for wealthy buyers. One estimate suggested that 5-year ownership costs exceed $60,000 beyond the purchase price. Depreciation, maintenance, repairs, tires, brakes, insurance, and fuel. One mechanic would love that twin-turbo V8, but he calculated what it cost to own an RSQ8 and realized he could buy a new Toyota every year for less money than keeping one RSQ8 running. That's not exaggeration, that's math. The engine is brilliant. The vehicle surrounding it is a financial nightmare. Look at the pattern across these 9 vehicles. Brilliant engines sabotaged by unreliable electronics, problematic transmissions, poor build quality, or absurd operating costs. The common thread is that the powertrain engineering excellence never gets a chance to shine because everything else fails first or costs too much to maintain. The manufacturers invest massive resources developing impressive engines. Then they install those engines in vehicles with cost-cutting everywhere else. Electronics sourced from the cheapest supplier, transmissions that aren't adequately tested, build quality that doesn't match the engineering sophistication under the hood. The result is vehicles that mechanics respect as engineering exercises but would never own as daily transportation. The maintenance costs are too high, the repair costs are prohibitive, or the reliability is too questionable. These are engines deserving better homes than the vehicles they're installed in. 9 cars with engines that mechanics love, but vehicles they'd never own. From the Ford Explorer's excellent 3.0 EcoBoost, sabotaged by electrical problems, to the Audi RSQ8's brilliant V8, surrounded by financial devastation. These are engines deserving better vehicles than they're installed in. If this changed how you think about vehicle reliability, hit that like button. Drop a comment with which engine on this list deserves the best vehicle. Real discussion about powertrain excellence versus overall vehicle quality matters. Subscribe for automotive truth from people who actually fix these vehicles rather than just write about them. Hit the bell because the next video covers the vehicles where everything works together. Engines, transmissions, electronics, and build quality all delivering excellence simultaneously. Thanks for watching. Remember, a brilliant engine can't overcome terrible everything else. Reliability is about the complete vehicle, not just the powertrain. These 9 prove that you can have engineering excellence under the hood while simultaneously having a nightmare ownership experience. Choose complete vehicles, not just impressive spec sheets.